And why it's very important for people to know the real history, because not to know the real history, and you must know world history and European history, and you must dismiss the black and white game. If you don't, you're already in the trap. You're in the matrix. All right. The other thing is, because certain things that we were talking about earlier, different things that we're hitting on, and hearing people say different things. One of the things I recognize that a lot of people fail to recognize is law, what it is not, what brings it about. And so I think with a lot of us, this can help. And I'm going to go to this point first, then we're going to open up the questions so that we can deal with the matters that are important or that's before us. Now, pardon me, all civilization operates on contract. There's no such thing as civilization operating without contract. Contract is an agreement, a treaty, constitution, verbal, oral, however. They're covenants. They're all forms of contract. One of the things that I see that's a weakness with us is because of the usurpation of the United States Republic, which the Moors helped set up. People unconsciously keep equating the U.S. democracy and the United States Republic, which is the first weakness. I want to make it very, 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 very clear. The U.S. democracy has no law. The United States Republic of Morocco has the Constitution. They cut Morocco off. That is what the slavery really is. Do you understand? People's concept of what the slavery is in the Western Hemisphere is totally wrong. So before you can really understand how to deal with the law, you must understand what the secret societies did. You have to have, put it this way, if you don't have any knowledge as to what is the body of information or the foundation principle body of information that the secret societies across the world have, you can't understand how and why governments are run. Do you understand? It's not left to emotions. And we have a tendency when waking up to still mix emotions with realities. This is where we get caught in the matrix that everybody is talking about. And that vague area where foreign authorities are able to take jurisdiction in other areas where they have none. And then we get to the position of arguing what the law is and what the law is not. And so you come back to the foundation principles. And so if you don't understand the political evolution on how the Europeans established government here, then you can't understand law, nor can you understand your history, nor can you understand their history, nor can you understand how we interchange. It is because of the Inquisitionists and when they started the artificiality of race, that's part of the trap. If you get caught into that, you're caught in the trap. So one of the things that you have to do is to begin to dissolve in your mind the fictions and then begin to deal with the realities. The reality is that this is one broad and expanded human family that's broken down into broader families that are called nationalities. Once you took that game when the sociologists started creating the race game in order to start to divide the people so they could rob them, and you take that as an information base and you go from that on any point, whether you're dealing with law, governments, etc., you're already wrong. It is no different than if I say, well, let's give you a mathematical problem, and we're going to give you 3 columns of numbers, whether it's addition, subtraction, multiplication. We're not going to argue that. We're going to give you 3 columns of numbers. Then I don't tell you that 1 column is written in invisible ink. Your outcome will never be right. You understand? Parabolically, you understand that. So what happens with us when we're getting into issues of litigation, issues of controversy between diversities of people, diversities of states, diversities of status, etc. We have a tendency to go right in and to assume people who are assuming jurisdiction have a jurisdiction in the matter and or the person, and we give them jurisdiction. Then we start arguing issues of trying to get out of certain situations when they never had it in the first place that you give it to them. Do you understand? Meaning that for law to exist, if I make a claim on you or against you, if I make a claim on you or against you, what you should be arguing to me is not necessarily the substance of the matter. If I say to you, you know, we're really upset with you because you owe $5.50 and 2 bags of popcorn. You say, well, that's kind of high. And, you know, I don't feel as though that's fair. When what you should be arguing is not that. But number one, where did I derive my authority? And enter it into the record. That's number one. Because before I can claim a right or an authority over you, the only way that your birthright can be given to me in any sovereign capacity, if you're in agreement with me through your parents or through some organized system government prior to me, that which I'm by bloodline obligated to and didn't dissolve, or your birthright is your own. Do you understand? You're the law. Do you understand? And if I impose that on you, then I'm maintaining slavery, which is a violation of civilization, which gives you a right to take that person's head, really. And any other civilized person has the right and authority in assisting you in international law to take that person's head. Do you understand? So if I say to you that you're in violation of something, what you're supposed to say to me says, you're not even arguing that. Well, if you're making a claim, introduce it into the evidence before people of my own national peers. According to national or international law, introduce the evidence and the complaint, right? And see if it's validated by the people. And then they'll decide whether something goes with this or not. Right now, I'm not making any claims, you know, or counterclaims one way or another. Not making any pleas or anything. There's no pleas. Do you understand? Now, for me to have a claim that to be valid, number one, there are 3 issues in any issue of contention, controversy, etc. And this is where we're weak at very often because we don't look at this and we let people bypass them. First issue is your status. Can I raise this? Has this been done over? All right. Now, and keep this in mind. And while I'm talking to you, I'm going to explain to you also why the game is played, the color game is played. It's actually political sorcery, if you understand it. And basically the stuff is it's very, very simple once you have certain fundamental component parts. So you have to understand right? Then you have now in issues of controversy, that's the process. So the first thing that comes before any court, any lawful court. Now you've got colorable courts, and you can have, you know, where you have organized criminals come together and then deny process, which is common. And one of the weaknesses that people have is that they assume that people that hold government seats are not criminals. That's your first problem. You know, it's sort of like the same misnomer that they assume that somebody, a priesty guy of the Bosnatzeldorf, of the God of Christ of Jesus and Allah and all that kind of stuff, and you, oh, whew, and you get all like that and figure that that person's sinless and all that stuff. They're usually the dirtiest people on the planet. Do you understand what I'm saying? Steal your dog's food and take grandmom's lunch money without a conscience. And the only problem with you is that you keep assuming that these people have some kind of authority or some kind of morality that does not apply to them. One of the things that we have to do is no different than criminal people in government assume authority and assume jurisdiction that they do not have, so do people with titles. And so whenever someone has a title, if that title applies to any public office or any public institution, the first thing that you're to require of them is not declaring their title, but declaring their title by their actions. So therefore, you should understand fundamentally what is the designated authority of anyone